are in place and the public good interests are protected in the longer term. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Stephen Browning.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak to the third reading of the Patents Bill. Clearly, we're disappointed that the supplementary order papers, both for taking away the ability to patent life or the traits of, and some more support and substance to the committee that would look at issues affecting Māori. Now, what is really showed up in this bill, and because the bill we are supporting and has some substantive improvements on the previous Act, what is showing up is that the bit that's really missing, that is around life, that is around the ability for Māori to actually have a serious, meaningful part, an assured part in the outcomes. And it comes down to that essence of life, right down to the genetic material. I was disappointed to hear that Labor are supporting it because they're supporting genetic engineering effectively, and that is a significant difference here. So the bill is a very, very good bill, but it has a lack in that it supports genetic engineering in New Zealand and suggests that might be a way forward for New Zealand, and it clearly isn't. I think it's time that New Zealand had a serious discussion around that, and we've had significant years where all we've had are field trials except for one commercial release of something that has not yet been used, a genetically engineered vaccine for equine influenza that hasn't been used as far as I know. Everything else has been field trials, and every one of those field trials has had compliance issues and has had issues of contamination. I've brought Australian farmers over that have showed what the issue is when they've gone down the genetic engineering track in Australia, and the issues in the community, the conflict in the community when neighbour contaminates neighbour and actually degrades the value of their crop, degrades the value of their land. And I'll be visiting another farmer in Western Australia in a couple of weeks, who's actually, his name? No, you have a look, Google up, you'll be right. I'll be visiting him, and he is in court with his neighbour, supported by Monsanto, David versus Goliath. Why should that farmer, why should he have lost the value of his crops because his neighbour allowed something to drift over into his place that devalued the premium that he is getting and the neighbours? Why should the councils in that area be subject to clean-up costs because this sort of material has got loose? Now, I think that's a real question for New Zealand, where we haven't gone down that track yet, and it's good, and we can claim it as a benefit for New Zealand to get premium for our goods, our primary production in this country. The bill would have been extra special if it had genetic engineering effectively banned from being able to be patented here. We have a very good vision, and New Zealand, remember, we haven't got it. We haven't got it commercialised in this country now, and we, according to some, are doing just fine. We've got a vision around sustainability, of clean agriculture, clean primary production, and maximising on that when we go out to the world with the best possible value, the best possible brand. And genetic modification has no place in that brand. It is not wanted by consumers internationally, and that more and more information is coming about the negatives in that. We don't need it for biofuels. We don't need it out in our environment at all. We don't need it in our food even more. And there's a real issue around the amount that might be in our food, but the current government, in fact, previous government as well, were remiss in the level of compliance assurance around what was in our food. We've got GE food labelling laws that are so-so, but they're not even being reinforced by auditing or checking on them. So we have experts in this country, and we'll talk about Jack Heinemann from Canterbury University, internationally renowned. He's got a book here, Hope Not Hype, The Future of Agriculture, guided by the International Assessment of Agricultural Knowledge, Science, Technology for Development. These are people, a big lump of scientists that have looked deeply into these things to see what is actually sustainable for the future, what's gone wrong with this technologies in the past, and how we can learn from that. And we are so lucky we have not gone down that track that the US and certain South American countries and a few others have gone. A number of them are pulling back from it, and regions are pulling back because they are having very negative effects into their environment. They've also had limitations in public goods science because of the patents on organisms, and it's reduced the ability to have the absolute best we could get through medical science, because what is considered to be locking up for innovation to give rewards to those corporates ends up being a monopoly or a manipulation, a strategic measure to block other research out and to other users of what is everybody's, what is life and what belongs to every one of us. So we support the bill for those real positive things, and as I say, we're very, very concerned about the major gap in there, or gaps in there. So both the ability for the Maori to have some genuine influence in things that matter to them, the essence of life in there, and then the fact that we can see life patented. New Zealand could have been extra special there. Great that we've seen the development around software, computer programs. What a fantastic day it is that we are going to be voting that through. That's very, very good. But for the rest of it, it's unfortunate. So as I sit, I still commend the Minister for the positive parts of the bill, and the rest of the colleagues in the House that are supporting the bill in its major substance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.